안녕하세요. Good evening. This is Judge Sam Chung from King County Superior Court. Today, we're very privileged to have three of my favorite judges, Justice Montoya-Lewis, Justice Helen Whitener, and Judge Doug North. I want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to the Korean American community. They've been working really hard doing their day job, but they're taking some time out this evening to say hello. And I just want to say that, you know, it's a real honor to have very distinguished jurors to come to the Korean community and talk to us about themselves and their experience and what it means to be a judge, because the audience is, you know, not just first generation Koreans, but also second generation, and everyone is interested in what's going on in our community today. So without any further ado, let me turn to Justice Montoya-Lewis first, and then we can move forward. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity this evening to say hello to everyone. I am running for position 3 to retain my position after being appointed by Governor Jay Inslee in December. It's been an incredible year learning how the Supreme Court works, and you know, it's been a real shift from the 20 years I spent as a trial court judge before that and as a professor. I really am committed to continuing to serve the community in this new role and ensure that everyone has equal access to the courthouses and equal access to justice. And I look forward to continuing to be in this position for many years to come. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Justice Whitener.
Good afternoon. I'm Justice Whitener. I was recently appointed to the Washington State Supreme Court. I was a Pierce County Superior Court judge prior to joining the bench, and I was a Board of Industrial Insurance Appeals judge prior to joining this bench as well. I've been a prosecutor, a public defender, private defense attorney, and I have also done a lot of trial work, jury trials, bench trials, and we'll explain that in a little bit. But thank you so much for having me.
It's an honor. Let me turn to my colleague and good friend, Judge North.
안녕하세요. I'm Doug North. I've served the people of King County for 20 years as a Superior Court judge. I'm proud to be endorsed by over 115 current and former judges from the State Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and trial courts throughout Washington State. I've also been rated exceptionally well qualified and well qualified by 8 bar associations. Before I was elected to the court in 2000, I spent 23 years representing ordinary people in court. I fought and won for the mom not awarded enough child support for her and her kids, for the unemployed worker denied unemployment insurance, and the homeowners who fought a private power company against the arbitrary condemnation of their land. I'm the only candidate in this race that has fought for individual clients and upheld their rights in court. Thank you.
Great. I thought in this format, it might be good to have each of the judges give a little bit more perspective on their time on the bench and what it means to be a judge. Again, you know, there's a lot of younger people who are up and coming in our community who'll be interested in what you do, what it's like to be on the various benches that you serve. So, you know, maybe we can take a little bit more time to do that. Justice Montoya-Lewis, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, when I went to law school, I had never met a lawyer. I'd never spoken to a judge. I had no idea what to expect. And I never planned to be a lawyer, much less a judge. I really wanted to understand how institutions impacted people's lives. And I was really interested in understanding what brought people to courthouses and what it meant when there was a problem people couldn't solve and they went to someone else like a judge to ask for help. I became a judge very early on in my career. I was a law clerk for a Supreme Court justice in New Mexico. I'm an enrolled member of the tribe of the Pueblo of Isleta, which is a tribe in New Mexico. And after I went to the University of Washington Law School, I went back to New Mexico for a few years and worked for my own community and worked for a justice. I very quickly became a tribal court judge just a few years into my career, and I was a tribal court judge for all kinds of different tribes, including many in Washington, for 15 years before being appointed to the Superior Court bench for the 5 years prior to joining the Supreme Court. So I've done everything as a judge. I have run therapeutic drug courts. I have done cases that are minor traffic infraction cases, and I've also done major murder trials involving the potential for life in prison as a sentence. So I've had the experience of working in very community-based courtrooms in tribal courts, running courtrooms and court systems with very little money. And I've also had the opportunity to work in Superior Court with the most advanced court technology and lawyers who've been working for decades. So that experience is something that informs my work on the Supreme Court. And I think as a justice, having judges who have a lot of trial experience and a lot of experience as trial court judges is critically important. And also my experience as a professor, I was a tenured professor for 12 years at Western Washington University. That experience has also really helped me both to know as an educator how to explain what the law is and how the legal system works, as well as how to write about it in a way that is understandable and useful. And that's what I hope to be doing as a Supreme Court justice and continuing to do.
Well, we're very fortunate and blessed to have you on the high bench, and I was just so pleased to hear you get nominated and then see you actually on the bench. It's a great honor. How does it feel to be the first Native to be on the bench?
It is a remarkable experience to be a first, and there are only 2 other people of Native descent on any state Supreme Court in the country, and I'm the first to be enrolled with a tribe to be on a state Supreme Court. So it's a big deal in my communities to be in this position. But I have to tell you that I've been amazed at how much it's meant for other communities as well, who don't have the kind of representation that they deserve in the various systems they access, including the legal system. I've gotten letters from middle schoolers in rural communities like the ones that I've come from, who talk about what it means to them to see me here. And many letters from people just saying that the idea that there could be a Native American on the Supreme Court has given them the belief that they could do what they wanted to do with their lives, whether that's law or not. So that's a pretty awesome responsibility, I think, to represent that well. But as I said, when I was appointed to this position, being the first is a great honor, but the most important thing to me is that I not be the last. So I think I have an obligation to make sure that I'm a part of mentoring young people to find their own path to whatever it is that they want to do and be successful in. Because our communities deserve representation, in all fields, and I think that's an important part of what we do on the court.
It's a real honor, and I just can't imagine what it means to be a part of this state. Recognizes diversity as well. Speaking of diversity, Justice Whitener, I remember meeting you at Judicial College, and I thought this person is going places, with very profound thoughts, all the opinions you expressed even back then and during our sessions and stuff. So it's just a great honor to have you here today. Go ahead.
Well, I think what I bring to the Supreme Court right now is, by joining the Supreme Court, it became the most diverse Supreme Court in the nation. And that's because it already had representation from all groups except the Black community. So I'm Washington State's first Black female Supreme Court Justice. But I also brought my unique background in that I'm an immigrant. I was born and raised on the island of Trinidad and Tobago. I came to this country at the age of 16. I was paralyzed on my right side, so I came for medical reasons because I couldn't get that at home. And while recuperating and going through rehabilitation, I applied to do my undergraduate degree. And of course, the rest is history. I kept working my way through the system. But my story is that of an immigrant and a first-generation immigrant. All my family is really still on the island, except for my brother who's in New Jersey. So my perspective in regards to the law is I knew nothing about it. So I had to learn this system from the bottom up, which is why in my introduction, I pointed out that I've been a prosecutor, I've been a public defender, I've been a private defense attorney, and I've been a judicial officer in all three levels of our trial level court. So on the municipal court level, district court, as well as superior court. And then I became a Board of Industrial Insurance Appeals judge. And it was really humbling to have the governor appoint me to the highest court, especially when you know my journey. What I also have as far as experiences, I've handled thousands of cases over the years, trial cases, from simple misdemeanors to Class A felonies on the criminal side, to complex civil matters to include asbestos trials, which sometimes has, and in my case, had about 20 some odd defendants on it. So it's very complex issues. And then of course, I handle family law matters as well, complex family law matters. But aside from my work, I also put a lot of time in service to the community. So I co-chair the Minority and Justice Commission. I'm a Supreme Court appointed judicial officer to the Office of Civil Legal Aid. One entity deals with civil legal aid matters and the lack of representation there of lawyers to assist individuals navigate the process, but the other deals with race and ethnicity issues in regards to access to our courts. I believe because of my marginalized background as well as my disability, I tend to see things through an accommodating eyes. And I've always been the outsider, so I try to see things through inclusion rather than exclusion. And joining this bench with these very intellectual Supreme Court justices is very challenging, but I feel like I just fit right in and the discussion becomes so much richer because my perspective is so different. Mm-hmm. So I thank you for giving me a space this afternoon to chat with everyone.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, just, like I said, it's just, we have so many firsts in this panel today. I think it's just an honor to do that. You've been a real role model to a lot of people, including myself. And I mean, how does that, feel to you? How does, when little girls look up to you and, and just in awe?
I'm in awe. But what I love about it is it keeps me accountable because I realize being the first means, and you heard Justice Montoya-Lewis say, we want to make sure we're not the last. So we mentor a lot, and I mentor from elementary school all the way up to judicial officers, because I think it's my responsibility, not just being a first, but I think it's the responsibility of the judiciary to maintain trust and confidence in our judicial system. And how can it be if it doesn't represent all? So I work really hard at mentoring because I think that's how we can take care of the deficit in regards to representation on our benches as well as in the legal profession.
It's just a tremendous honor to have you on the bench. Judge North, you've had probably the most difficult cases over the years that you've handled. Anything really stand out? I mean, we're a very busy court, and you've been very busy even now, as I recall.
Right. There have been a whole variety of different cases that I've handled over time. I do think it's very important as a trial judge to be as welcoming as possible to people coming into your court. to make sure that people have whatever they need in order to be properly represented, whether they need an accommodation due to a disability or an interpreter if their first language isn't English, to make sure that everybody gets a fair hearing and has a chance to present their case effectively in court. And of course, we're particularly challenged now because of the pandemic. We've had an enormous backlog of cases that build up because for 4 months we weren't trying cases because we couldn't figure out how to do it and keep people safe. We've now gone back to trying cases again with everybody wearing masks and having juries that are socially distanced, and it's required a lot of logistical hurdles. We've set up Zoom trials and seen an astounding increase in jury participation, which has allowed for a more diverse representation of King County residents, which has really been very gratifying. It's sort of forced us to innovate in ways that we haven't done previously. But it's been very exciting to be part of that innovation. And I look forward, I'm chair of our rules committee, and so I'm constantly dealing with all the rule changes that are required for the innovations we're doing and to try to make the system work as well as possible. Obviously, the idea is to give everybody the maximum opportunity to present their case fairly in court and be properly heard. And that is a very exciting and challenging thing to do in our current environment.
A lot of the people who are, you know, as Justice Whitener said, in the marginalized communities, including Korean Americans, feel like they can't get a fair hearing if they're a minority. What's been your experience, and what do you try to do to make sure that they get fair hearing and fair trial? Yeah, well, I think our courts generally do a very good job of that. Washington leads the country in terms of providing appropriate accommodations, providing interpreters, and doing those sorts of things. Now, that doesn't mean that we're always perfect on everything, but we're constantly working at trying to see that court is as welcoming to everybody as possible. We really make our cornerstone of our system is equal justice under law, which means that everybody has a fair shot at presenting their case in court. And we want to make sure that everybody has the tools they need to be able to get themselves properly represented. Obviously, there are problems where you have a disparity in economic resources because you can end up with one side having better representation because they can afford more in the way of lawyers and experts and things like that. And we have to try to strike a balance there in terms of making sure everybody's welcomed and has an opportunity to present their case, but not interfering in the process at the same time, which can be a difficult balance to strike. Thank you. Let me just say a couple of words in Korean and we can wrap up. First of all, Ms. Yu, do you have any questions for any of our guests today?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're hardworking people and I don't work.
Hardworking, she said. Yeah, I want to emphasize. 제가 오늘 이 세 분을 모신 이유는 제가 존경하는 대법원 판사님 두 분하고 또 같이 일하는 판사님, 노르스 판사님하고 모신 이유는 참 아까도 말씀하신 것처럼 너무너무 열심히들 일을 해요. 제가 벌써 저도 한 6년이 넘었는데 판사직을 하면서 참 변호사 할 때보다 더 열심히 일하는 걸 보니까 거기에 또 감동을 많이 받게 되고 참 직접 가서 느끼는 거는 참 세상이 많이 바뀌어서 법원 문턱이 많이 낮춰졌어요. 그래서 소수민족이나 아니면은 전에 이 백인이 아닌 사람은 같은 대우를 못 받는다고 생각을 많이 했었는데 이제 그게 많이 바뀌어서 동등한 평준한 그 대우를 받을 수 있는 법원이 되기를 노력을 많이 하고 문턱이 많이 낮춰져서 통역이라든지 그런 대비를 많이 해서 준비를 많이 하고 있습니다. 그래서 우리 커뮤니티에서도 적극적으로 그 필요한 데가 있으면은 법정에 와서 정당한 대우를 받을 수 있도록 열심히 하면 좋을 것 같네요. 이렇게 바쁘신데도 오늘 와주셔서 감사드리고 in closing, I just want to say it's just a real honor to have the Supreme Court justices from our court and also from our King County, our busiest court, here today. Anything else you want to add for the good of the order?
If they want to say some kind of short words to Korean community, that'll be fine.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Justice Montoya-Lewis, you want to say something short?
Yes, I just will say briefly that I think it's really important that your voices also be heard as part of this election in all races. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share some time with you tonight, and I just want to extend that invitation beyond this election. If there are things that you have concerns about or that you think we need to hear about, I really have an open email and open door policy, and I'd love to hear your concerns. So thank you for your time this evening.
Justice Whitener.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a space where my voice can be heard this evening. What I always say when I end a discussion with an immigrant community is, we may have differences, but we're not truly different. When we look at ourselves, we have so much more in common than we have that is a difference. So I thank you again for giving me a space where my voice can be heard. And I look forward and ask for your support. Thank you.
Judge North.
One of the great strengths of our country is the ability to bring together groups of completely divergent backgrounds and make sure all their voices are heard through our government institutions. And so I really welcome the opportunity to speak to the Korean community and hope to see many of you in court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Facilitating.
I'm sorry, go ahead. We lost you there for a second.
Oh, I was saying, sorry, I was just saying thank you to Judge Chung for setting all this up and giving everyone
Oh, not at all. You know, Judge Spearman has always been my mentor for over the years, and it's just great to see her again. Okay, thank you. It's 6:30, so we'll wrap up. And I thank you again. And I'll keep the recording here with me, and then I'll disseminate to people who may need it. Okay? I want to thank Korean TV one more time. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네.
감사합니다.
Bye-bye, guys.